Life is full of ups and downs. The only certainty is uncertainty and how we roll with the changes. At a time when everything came to a standstill and our dream home could not turn into reality, let me tell you, there are plenty of success stories that need to be celebrated and told. Hi, my name is Sriram Sulya. I'm your host for Bounce Back Bharat Real Estate E-Conclave. Join me as we welcome our esteemed panelists who are best of the best from the real estate market. Let's go say hi. We have an IIM Ahmedabad alumni, someone with over 15 years plus experience in the real estate sector. He's the head of residential sales with the Prestige Group, Mr. Prabir Srivastava. Thank you so very much for joining us. Great to see you here.
Thank you, Sriram, and hello, everyone.
We also have with us a serial entrepreneur, someone with over a decade of experience, has a solid track record of managing agricultural ventures. He's the Director, Sales and Customer Support of Hosachiguru. Mr. Srinath Shetty, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
We, of course, have the privilege of having none other than the 15th president of CREDAI Bengaluru. He's an architect by profession turned developer, has lots of insights about the policy of real estate sector and urban development. Ladies and gentlemen, Joint Managing Director of Habitat Ventures, President, CREDAI Bengaluru, Mr. Bhaskar T. Nagendrappa. Namaskara, sir. Welcome.
Namaste to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for your time, gentlemen. I know these are busy days as we bounce back, but let's talk about the real estate scenario pre-COVID. In a market like Bengaluru that is always considered to be booming in growth, what was the sudden impact on business? There was no protocol or a user manual to follow as such. Prabir, if I'd like to begin with you, how exactly did you guys go about things once the pandemic hit us?
So, Sriram, let me maybe start with the first wave which happened. It was quite unprecedented and it came quite unannounced, literally. And along with it came the lockdown. And it was a severe 50-day lockdown. And real estate is a brick and mortar business. Most of our clients are making an investment which is worth their lifetime savings when they buy a home. And therefore, it's a very well thought out decision. The whole family visits the project and the sites, not once, not twice, umpteen number of times, just to make sure that this is the dream home that they're looking for. And in case of a lockdown, all that process got hampered. But like you mentioned earlier, all the real estate developers had to evolve, had to adapt to the new normal and go the virtual route, give the buyers the confidence while the buyers are sitting at home. So we also adapted in the similar way. We undertook a lot of measures, including an online expo, including virtual chats, walkthroughs, 360-degree videos of our projects to make sure the customer gets enough information while sitting at home to at least shortlist the project. A lot of transactions also happened. We enabled payment gateways to payments of all our projects. Transactions also happened, but what I would say is that that 50-day period evolved us as an industry in terms of how to deal with such a pandemic and such situations in future. And post the opening up of lockdown, actually there was a huge deluge of customers looking for a home to buy for themselves, mostly for end-use purposes. Suddenly people with their stay of 50 days at home realized what the value of a home is in their lives and how important it is to stay in a managed community. So luckily at Prestige, we had a variety of options in ready managed communities to give to the customers. And we were able to, the people who shortlisted properties during those 50 days period and beyond also going forward, they have come, they've bought. And in fact, the larger developers have been able to do record sales in the last year. And those learnings we've been able to carry forward during the second wave also, which hit this year. And the business impact has actually been nullified now, so to speak.
That's incredible. That truly is a bounce back story of sorts and plenty of learning along the journey as well. Mr. Srinath, what about you? Everything came to a standstill. Was labor and client handling the biggest issue at hand for you?
And in fact, that was a great opportunity for us. See, the whole space that we are in, farmlands, is a very new area, right? People understood apartments as early as 20, 25 years back. When my dad wanted to buy the first apartment, We said, "Arey yaar, ceiling is not mine, flooring is not mine, swimming pool is not mine, but I have to pay for everything," right? That was very new. Apartments were very new to Bangalore about 25 years back, and people evolved now. People don't ask these questions, right? They even don't bother about the undivided share of land. But in the farmland space, the whole concept is very new, and it had to be explained very well. And this was a time where people were willing to listen, especially during the lockdown. We were able to have like at least with about 50, 60 clients every day, a 1 to 2 hour session, right? Of course, all through virtual walkthroughs and stuff like that. Luckily for us as a company, we've always been monitoring our lands using drones, satellite imagery, and all of that. So for us, tech was already at the background. It was not something that we had to newly adopt. It only came very handy in showcasing the lands to the customers. We were using always technology, drone-based footages, satellite-based imagery for crop monitoring. And now, when such a situation arises where customers were not able to visit the site, we were able to bring all of this into the forefront quickly, so that we were able to showcase our projects. But what was more important was that during this time, the customers were willing to take in all the information. They were willing to process that information, right? So there was a big tailwind. People really felt locked within their four walls, and they were willing to hear us out. And we did record sales, like most of the developers. Farmlands had huge tailwind, and we've been able to do extremely well. But our area is very unregulated, unlike the typical urban real estate. So there needs to be a lot more transparency, which we were able to showcase using a lot of tools, and that really helped us. From a material procurement perspective, see, unlike the typical urban real estate where a lot of construction material is required, our entire development on construction is only about 10-15%. Most of it is agriculture related, right? In terms of trees, in terms of fertilizers, pesticides, and all of that. And since we continue to do regenerative agriculture, a lot of the things that we need in terms of fertilizer, pesticides, we manufacture it on site by ourselves using local materials. So from that perspective, we really did not have a problem. In fact, we had earlier to lockdown, we had huge labor issues. Post lockdown, we see a lot more people, especially people from the agri community and all of that, venturing out into looking for jobs in local areas. And we have a huge influx of people coming into work in our farms. So it may not be true with all farmers, with all farms, but since we are a lot more mechanized and a lot more structured, we've been able to utilize this opportunity. So for us, it has not really been a challenge from a material perspective, but from being able to connect with the customer and explaining it, it was a golden opportunity for us, and we got really all ears from our customers. So that's what I would like to say.
Really interesting perspectives that are coming in here. Now coming over to Mr. Bhaskar, of course, your insights about the real estate industry are so very vital to this discussion here. So Bhaskar, what was the common sentiment between the big builders and the small scale or individual builders per se during the COVID times?
As far as the sentiments are concerned, the COVID itself was uniform across, whether it really didn't matter whether it was big or small or whatever. But even in the business side also, the sentiments were similar. I mean, it's not, not much of variation. I mean, you might say, the level, 10 on whatever you want to rate. I mean, it's for individual, it is a similar kind of a, feel or a impact. So because of which the sentiments were running, especially in real estate, actually, the sentiment which were drawn by the buyers actually. And prior to COVID also, the sentiments weren't that great actually. I mean, if you are looking at the earlier scenario in the residential sector, the huge sales were happening on the lower ticket size. Okay, and suddenly after the post-COVID, the affordable kind of started slowly slowing down, and the luxury part started picking up. The importance of home started, people started realizing, people wanted to move from resident, like rented to own, and a smaller configuration to bigger configuration, and bigger spaces also. And COVID during this time, the expenditures was less, and people had saved quite a bit of money, and they had that potential to go in for a larger space. So overall, from that perspective, from a immediate impact point of view, there was an impact, no doubt about it. And in a medium range, like we went through all of that. Even now, as far as like all my other friends, colleagues, they spoke about the material and the labor, and which has substantially gone up during this period. And there were a lot of, apart from all these things, we as a promoter fraternity, we had to, cope up with the sentiments of the laborers. whose like moral were very, very low. And actually, since I mean, a lot of the laborers are migrant and they're away from their home, so we had to fill in that space. I think, I mean, I should recognize and I should appreciate many of the developers did do their contribution by kind of being with them, supporting medically, morally, physically, financially, whatever. I mean, that way, I mean, this pandemic, whatever we went through, really has taught us, and it's been a great learning. And in simple, actually, I can say, I mean, we can face any issues. I mean, as it is, you need to be very, what do you call, strong mentally and physically to be a real estate developer in India, because of unknown past experience, because today's real estate is quite different from the past real estate. But we coming from slowly, we are also being recognized as organized, and RERA has really helped in this scenario. So I think, I mean, going forward, our things will be very bright, and of course we are all out of that low sentiments. So going forward, the things will be much better.
Right. You did mention how real estate developers did take care of the laborers, their employees, their staff. A lot of CSR initiatives, vaccination drives, taking care of the family that works for you as well. Job well done. For all our panelists who are here, of course. Mr. Praveer, I want to talk to you a little bit about these virtual property launches that you guys ventured into. Prestige Group as such did so many virtual launches. What was that like? Was it just, let's see how this goes and see what comes out of it? Or you knew exactly that this is the kind of response you're going to get?
See, Sriram, launches are a way to make sure that we reach out to people and convey that there is this product, which is a new product, which is catering to aspirations of certain set of people in a certain locality. And earlier we used to do it on the site physically. We will have in attendance maybe some buyers and mostly our service associates, the sales associates, maybe some 200, 300 of them, and so on and so forth. I think this whole pandemic gave us a chance to rethink on how we would like to convey this information to a larger community. And therefore, the virtual launches actually did very well for us. And we combined it as a hybrid strategy by announcing these launches both in digital sphere as well as in print media. So as people sitting at home, by and large, can log in and view these launches. Also, the benefit of digital media is that it is permanent. So people were able to view this at later date. We were also able to circulate this in the market to our prospective customers and channel partners, and so on and so forth. So that the whole longevity of that event was extended. And that really resulted in very, very good first-hand traction for all of our projects. So I would say that, yes, it was the first time we were venturing into just a virtual launch, only a virtual launch and no physical launch. But at the same time, I think it gave us fabulous results.
Very, very exciting space overall. Mr. Srinath, is it true that people were more encouraging of the fact that they would want to step out of the city and come into the periphery as such? I've heard that the demand for properties on the outskirts rose during recent times. How true is that?
It's always been there. In fact, the only challenge in the past has been, suppose 20 years back, you wanted to buy a land in Devnan or you wanted to buy a land in Hoskote. There were no developers offering you something there, right? Those were high growth areas. The only challenge is how are you going to protect this parcel of land? Now we have multiple developers across Sarjapur, across Devnali. They're all heated up to a certain extent, right? And when people look for options, you can't repeat the same growth story, when the land is already at a certain elevation. So you have to go much farther. So that inherent need has always been there. And as a company, we've been able to offer farmlands in those areas. We don't call it periphery. They're at least 60 minutes away from the periphery. So they are no doubt high growth areas, and people have been aggressively looking out to go and venture into those areas. And buying land itself is a big challenge. The biggest reason why most realtors survive is because of the entry barrier. It is innately impossible for an individual to go and pick up a parcel of land in the outskirts and hope to protect it and nurture it, right? It's highly impractical. So that's where developers come into picture. And at Hosur Chigru, since we're into farmlands, we have located lands which are in high growth areas. ensuring that water, legal aspects, and all of those things are taken care. And we also continue to manage the land, say, for the next 15, 20 years, right? So people can really be a part of that growth story, which they've always dreamt of, while also experiencing the farm. Like typically when you buy something in the outskirts, it is just a parcel of land. You can't even go take a selfie there. But with the farmland, you really can go and spend your time with your family. You can get veggies from your farm. We also deliver all the veggies grown at the farm to their homes in the city. And 1 hour, 1.5 hour drive is not really far. Right? People like to drive out. They're so tired that they've not been driving to offices now. So they have to take out their car somewhere. In fact, recently, a huge set of group, driving the Thar came to our farm saying that we've all bought Thar, but we've hardly driven. So we just thought we'll come and visit farmlands, right? So there is an inherent need for people to move out and look for adventure, and that's what we are here to offer, while ensuring that we're able to create a good balance for the ecosystem. Planting more trees, planting more forests has been our endeavor, and that's what we do.
I'm sure you've heard this term of a COVID discount. That is when a home buyer is expecting a small little discount, probably thinking that, hey, maybe you have plenty of units that are up for sale and whether I can expect a better price as such. What are some of the trends that you have noticed over the last few months?
Yeah, I would say COVID discount goes back to the first wave itself. So we had some customers approach us and say, okay, now this is a good price, but you know what? The economy is going through a turbulent phase and, you developers have a problem selling. Why don't you give us a COVID discount? And things have changed quite a bit, like I said, from where we started just post the pandemic to now. And in fact, there's no such distress deals or sales happening at any point of time in the last 1 year. Some of the trends, in fact, which have emerged are quite positive, and I would say, give an indication of the kind of demand which is there. One, we have seen that a lot of ready to move in stock moved, right? So the customers are really looking at buying a home for themselves, for their own families. Perspective to that is, firstly, yes, living in a managed community, living in a good home, a better home, lot of upgrades have happened. So people have moved to larger homes because of, let's say, work from home being there, study from home for the kids being there. So 1 or 2 rooms just completely get occupied for your work and study purposes only. So people are looking at larger homes. So that one trend is there. People are looking at a home not only from a living perspective, but also from a financial legacy perspective. Now, as Mr. Bhaskar also mentioned, it's been a tough time for everyone, and some families were particularly affected. And seeing all of that, people are looking at having a financial legacy to bestow to their family. So that also is a trend which has emerged. And then I would say also, because of the lockdown and because of all the restrictions which are going on, there was a feeling that the home should be in a community where some sanitization measures can be observed. A clubhouse or some open areas are there for the kids to play, for leisure amenities to be there, since we can't really venture outside anymore, or it's not safe even after the lockdown was lifted to go out too much. People wanted to do their own exercising, so the villas with garden spaces became popular. Then the apartments with decks or larger expansive balconies became popular, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of trends which have emerged in the last 1.5 years. And I think all of them indicate just one thing: the customer is there to buy. Home is a need. Home is an essential need for every customer. And, that's what is coming through in the last 1.5 years.
So true, so true. I think convenience, also considering that you want a home that's ready to move in because you do not want any delays in moving into your dream home. Having all the convenience at a stone's throw, be it a medical store, having grocery, you walk down and you have the gym, you have all these amenities at your disposal, really makes for a lot of value. And I think we now value the roof, the chat, so very much. Having our dream home and what it's like to spend so much of time in our house has been something that all of us have had to experience. Mr. Bhaskar, the landscape of the city is changing. We have tech parks, we have huge high rises in what is considered to be the garden city of India, right? As president of CREDAI Bengaluru, what is your dream and vision for Bengaluru, sir?
Yeah. I mean, as we all know, Bangalore is called as the IT capital of India. And here, I mean, majority of the development, whether in the sector of IT or IT enabled services, or even the residential or any kind of real estate, any asset class for that matter, the credit developers have contributed to a large extent, and they have been actually true builders of this city, Bangalore. I mean, if you see historically, I mean, post independence also, because of weather, there are so many public sectors and large private, electrical and electronics related companies came to Bangalore and set up because of the weather. It's been considered, or it has been recognized as a pensioners paradise, and subsequently, garden city and all of that. But with the 2000, IT boom, I mean, the city has grown up, phenomenally. I mean, the rate has been very high, and the urbanization is, I mean, there. I mean, it will be there. And Bangalore, fortunately, has been one of the very preferred city in India because of its cultural or economical or cosmopolitan appearance. And basically, I mean, Bangalore, this also has resulted in the traffic jams. Bangalore is also being called as a traffic jam city. Okay. So basically, here, what we are missing out is the transit oriented development. I mean, there are a lot of, like now these days, I mean, we are coming out with the MRT and the metro rail and all of that that is coming up. But I mean, we need to come up with a separate planning authority along these, transit, oriented development corridor. Like, we have BMIC APA, Nandi corridor from Bangalore to Mysore. It's got its own, planning authority, its own regulations, its own thing. I mean, when government of Karnataka is spending, or the government of India is also spending so much of money on the large infrastructure projects in city. Now we are talking about peripheral ring road, or interconnecting peripheral railroad, rail tracks, and all of that. So when that being the case, we need to have a integrated planning and development authority to regulate and to make sure that, I mean, Bangalore develops in an right direction, with all the infrastructure and with an optimum usage of the infrastructure. So, I mean, even at this point of time, I mean, when you're looking at, metro rail, along the metro rail, you should, kind of motivate the general public by and large to use the public transportation than the private transportation. And that, I mean, also, I mean, you need to increase the FAR. I mean, you need to go vertically, and you need to reduce the car parking space requirements. I mean, even large, I mean, big cities in the world, be it New York, or be it London, or any of these larger cities, they have successfully adopted. And even in India also, way back in 2014, this TOD is being drafted and passed on to the government of Karnataka also. I mean, still we are in the draft infant stage. So we all, I mean, being responsible, for all these, we also have to push and also make sure that, I mean, we, along with these positive sides of it, whatever negative sides of it, like be it, contributing to the environment or the construction debris management. I mean, we also have to contribute there. Also, we are evolving, and we are kind of, working on certain possible, association with various organizations, so that, I mean, we can also contribute to the nature, or to the efficient management of the construction debris and things like that. So, I mean, there are quite a bit of plans. I mean, as far as Bangalore city is concerned, to come out of all these crises and bad names, whatever we are going through, and to make sure we capitalize, on all the aspects. Two things are very critical and important. Now that Bangalore has been, marked in the, World Bank mapping on the ease of doing business. So ease of doing business should be, very meaningful and, practical, not just in the, for the namesake of it. And the number of, like, whatever we've been talking about, in simple, ease of doing business should be at the optimum or a highest level, with the very good efficient mode of transportation. So with an TOD kind of an planning development authority. Like in
Absolutely,
case of,
absolutely.
in Bombay, they have done this. Mumbai, Maharashtra, they have done this. They have set up a special SPV. Similarly, even Bangalore city can also do, and we can always solve these problems. But it requires some kind of, push from the government also.
Yeah. Since you spoke about infrastructure and transport, only in Bangalore city can you see the traffic police actually requesting the tech companies on Outer Ring Road to say, please do not open up, continue work from home, because we have work that's happening on the Outer Ring Road stretch, not because of COVID, but because of infrastructure and how we have work that's in progress. Overall, though, excellent stories of how resilience, how you manage to hold on, and how you, I would say, brace the storm when the first wave and the second wave hit. Mr. Praveer, if you were to summarize your bounce back story, what would it be? How did you keep your team motivated? At the same time, how did you bounce back so very swiftly? What is your bounce back story?
I think the biggest learning for us, and I think what has been demonstrated over the last 1.5 years, is that we can overcome any adversity. And there's always an opportunity in adversity as long as we keep a positive outlook and we keep thinking on how to make things happen, things will happen. And that's, I think, something that we are as a group win prestige, and within our sales team also we have inculcated this, that whatever the circumstances are, whatever the situations are, there's always a way to overcome the situation and to look for the positives in the situation. So when we started out, like I said, there was a certain change in the way of doing business that we had to adapt to. We did that. Post the opening up, we saw certain interest groups emerging. We took note of that. We devised certain schemes, certain focus areas in order to take advantage of the sentiment in the market and also to cater to the needs of the customer. And thereby came the idea of a Ready Homes Festival. Thereby came the idea of doing a keys around a particular time period and offering a variety of more than 35 plus projects in Bangalore. And that was hugely successful. And I think that's somehow demonstrated to the team and to ourselves that, things are things can be much better than what they are. And that's the path that we're continuing on right now. So the only motivation that we need is success. And we recently just actually last week we launched a project in Sarjapur Road area, which is a plotted development, and we were sold out in 2 days. So I think the market responds very well to you if you are positive and if you keep on listening to the market and giving them what they need.
Looks like we are very much on the road to recovery, and it is reassuring to hear all these success stories in the real estate sector overall. Uh, Gentlemen, thank you so very much for your insights and all your valuable points, and adding in this dash of motivation to how you bounced back with your team and did it with so much of pomp and so much of style and rigor. Mr. Bhaskar, to conclude this all, why would you say right now is a good time for a buyer to buy an apartment? Would you vouch for it?
Yes, I would definitely vouch for it. I mean, the home, since you have specified as home, I mean, home is something, I mean, we in the past, we have realized now in the recent past that there's no substitute for home. Like today, our home, I mean, historically, if you see home generally, I mean, as far as we remember, we used to come for sleeping and get ready and get out. That is how the home used to behave. Now today, home have become school, the home have become, office, the home have become hospital, the home have become restaurant, the home have become theater, the home have become entertainment, I mean, whatnot. I mean, home has become everything. So the importance of home is being understood and recognized by everybody, whether they believed it or not. I mean, people who thought that they should always stay in a rented home and just move around every 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, now they also have started realizing, no, it's always nice to have a home. Okay. So, and apart from that, I mean, if you see, the interest rates are at the lowest today and your eligibility are at the highest, because you also are in a position to contribute to the kitty, because your expenditures in the past 1.5, 2 years has been very, very, very low. So, I mean, your chances of upgrading and your other opportunities have been really very good. Okay, so there is a big opportunity, and I mean, always, I mean, we keep saying that we always receive an depreciating, currency, and we provide an appreciating asset. Okay, whatever today I've received, a few lakh of rupees. I mean, probably 10 years down the line, the thing would have come down. But whereas you as a buyer, your asset value would have gone up. Okay, so that is how it is. And just to tell you, I mean, since you were asking in the earlier question, now one of our mentor, Mr. Irfan Razak, the president of Prestige, the chairman of Prestige, also he keeps motivating us, all of us, and be focused, be patient, and it will pay, be committed and hardworking and all of that. And he also, like, we have realized, I mean, we are highly regulated industry without an industrial tag. Okay, we don't even come under the industrial, kind of a status as far as government of India is concerned. And one thing we have realized, working with all these odds and the highest disruptor and all of that, even including with our own staff, I mean, people, though we were, I mean, initial during lockdown and all of that, we are working from home. But I think, I mean, the kind of connect what we did post COVID was phenomenally high. I mean, though every one of them were there in their respective homes, and the connect was at a very, very high level. And not only the office issues, the other issues also, kind of, the colleagues became real good family. So, I mean, though they were there only, I mean, night they used to go back home to sleep. Daytime, entire day they used to stay with them. But today they realize their value also, the teamwork or the appreciation for the fellow colleague and all of that. So one thing we have realized, that in this, out of this, that the treat your home like office, treat your office like home. This will give a very good result. Okay, be human. Most important, be human. There is no differentiation. I mean, whatsoever, I mean, business will happen and all of that. As long as you're transparent, you are human, and your intent is clear, you are bound to succeed. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thought. Plenty of encouraging signs overall, as these bounce back stories are something that you've heard for yourself from the best in the industry. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Real Estate Bounce Back Bharat E-Conclave that we held right here. Mr. Praveer, Srinath, Mr. Bhaskar, thank you so very much for your time once again. We look forward to catching up probably in person the next time around, but appreciate your time and look forward for plenty more exciting conversations. Thank you. Do take care of yourself. Cheers and regards.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Bounce back, Bharat.